Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming out. My name is Zach Parrish. I'm the programming librarian at the Bexley Public Library. Really quick before we get started, it's great that we have such a wonderful crowd in person. This is a hybrid event, so we also have some people joining online. So when we get to the end of the presentation, if you have any questions, if you don't mind just raising your hand, that way I can come around with the mic so that those online can hear what incredibly thoughtful questions you have. For those online, you can type any questions or comments into the chat at any time, and we will do our best to get them asked at the end. I just really quick want to give a big thank you to Judy Oppenheimer and Jason Craybill from the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio. Yes, give it up for Judy and Jason. They've just been incredible partners here at the library for this ongoing Curator series, so we just appreciate their partnership and their willingness to bring such wonderful programming to the community. Today, we are very lucky to be joined by Ryan MacLennan, who is the Trumbull County Historical Society Director of Operations and Outreach, as well as one of the creative partners helping to bring the Museum of Science Fiction and Fantasy Arts to life. He's also one of the curators for the current Star Trek and Worlds Beyond exhibit that is on display now through August 31st. So you have about a month to get over to the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio in Lancaster and check it out for yourselves. I will turn it over to Ryan MacLennan. Please join me in welcoming him. Thank you.
Hello? Good? Okay. You never really realize how long of a walk it is until you're doing it in front of 20 people. Okay, so thank you, Zach, for the kind introduction. Forgive me, I was a TA in my doctoral program, and the criticism that I got, the big one was that I walk and talk too much. So forgive me that I'm going to walk and talk. It's just a nervous habit. So. As Zach said, my name is Ryan MacLennan. I am the Director of Operations and Outreach at the Trumbull County Historical Society. And when I was thinking about giving this talk, I wanted to break it up into three aspects. I wanted to talk about the legacy of John Zabrucki and how we got the props. And then secondly, about the props that are on display. I'm gonna move this sometime, sorry. On display at the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio. And then the third part is about the Museum of Science Fiction and Fantasy Arts. Does that sound okay to everybody? Awesome. Okay. Also, for whatever reason, PowerPoint does not like me. So I'm gonna have to exit out of PowerPoint to show videos and then enter back in. So hopefully that's okay with everyone. I did not, Jason heard this story already because he was at the talk I did last Sunday, but everyone else hadn't. So I didn't grow up a Star Trek fan, I'm sorry. I grew up a Star Wars fan. I had VHS tapes of Star Wars because my parents didn't have a lot of money at the time, where they would be interrupted by California Raisin cartoons and the Ray Charles Pepsi commercials. And then it took me a long time to fall in love with Star Trek, but I ultimately did that when I went to college, and you sort of meet different people and find different friend groups. And then I watched the '09 Star Trek movie, and then watched every single movie after that, and then the original series, Next Generation. I'm currently watching Picard. I'm 2 episodes left, and then I'm watching Lower Decks whenever I get a spare moment. So I have fallen in love with Star Trek, but it did not come natural to me. All right, so the reason we are here is this guy. So this is John Zabrucki. He grew up in Warren, Ohio. He graduated from our local high school in the late 60s. And then he went off to Kent State, where he studied art. He was at Kent State during the shootings. Obviously, that would impact anybody, but it was specifically impactful for John. After graduating from Kent State, he taught art at Kent State for a little while, and then he taught art at the Mansfield Reformatory. While he was at the Mansfield Reformatory, he and his girlfriend at the time, who I'll show a picture of, her name is Linda DeSena. She was interested in going out to Hollywood to pursue making art in Hollywood. So they both went out there together. Linda, who's pictured here, Linda had a little bit more success early on getting into productions. And one day when John, so let me back up. So in many ways we're here because of John, but we're also here because of Linda, right? So Linda has some success getting into Hollywood productions pretty early. And this is one of those times where I'm gonna have to back out just so I can show you her impressive Wikipedia page. So she has been nominated for 5 Academy Awards. Hold on. It's not doing the thing I want it to. Nope, not that. Now I lost my mouse, Zach. There we go. Okay. So she has been nominated for 5 Academy Awards in the category of Best Art Direction. She worked on the set of Star Trek: The Motion Picture. She worked on Blade Runner. She worked on The Color Purple. She's also from Trumbull County, Ohio. She grew up in Holland, which is a neighboring suburb of Warren. She's ultimately ended her career just because, in order to continue it, she doesn't like flying and didn't want to do that anymore. So she found other passions, other pursuits. But in many ways, the story of Linda helps us connect the story of John. So John was waiting for Linda to get done on set one day, and one of the props broke. And the producer was really upset that this prop had broken. So she came outside and was yelling and cursing, and John snickered. It's important to know a little bit about John. John's a very confident person, and he laughed. And the producer said, well, I suppose you think you could do better. And he said, I could do better in my sleep. So he challenged. The producer looked at him and said, okay, I accept the challenge. So John went back and designed the prop, and it turns out it was a really good prop. But she convinced him not to work on props for specific productions. She convinced him to make a prop rental company. Because in the 70s and early 80s, movie studios had really strong unions. So if you worked for Paramount, you had to work for Paramount. If you worked for MGM, you had to work for MGM. So by working as a prop rental company, he was able to sort of bypass that and get his artwork in a ton of different productions. John's props appear in every single science fiction thing that you can think of, almost. That's a little bit of hyperbole, but he was in everything from the original, not the original series of Star Trek, but Star Trek, the movies, and Next Generation, all the way up until 2009. He's in Blade Runner. His props are, anyways, not him himself. Blade Runner, Galaxy Quest, Men in Black, and everything in between. All right, everyone doing okay? It's going to be kind of a pain to keep doing this, sorry. So this is just another picture of John. One of the things that's also important to notice about John is an incredible artist. He really views himself as a little bit of a scientist, but more of an artist. So these props to him are artworks. This, I don't want to click through it because if I click on it and then back out and back up, it's going to cause a problem. But this is what John's working on now. This is a shipping container that has John's art inside of it. And what he does is he takes little things like a zipper and blows them up so that you can see the inner workings of a zipper, for instance, or what a landmine looks like. And they're all in this shipping container that he's in the hopes of sending to Italy to be a small little art gallery for a number of years. So that's what John's working on now. John also happens when he's at Kent State, he becomes friends with not Mark Mothersbaugh, but Jerry Casale of Devo. They're friends to this day. We've had dinner with them several times. And Jerry and John, they often help each other throughout their entire career. So John helps him make music videos, and Jerry puts John in touch with various producers throughout their career. But I would like to take a moment and sort of let somebody else do a little bit of talking, if that's okay. So I'm going to play a video really quick. It's about a 2-minute video to give you a little bit better sense of John's warehouse and studio. Maybe.
It's
Not this one.
40-some thousand.
Hey, business owner, tired of wasting hours on scheduling, attendance, and payroll? Connecting's here to simplify.
If
really feels like you're taking a walk through the future.
Yeah, there's a lot of future right here.
For decades, this cavernous warehouse in Los Angeles is where Hollywood directors came when they needed to create the future. John Zabrucki's been making film props for more than 40 years.
The payload comes out.
His specialty, sci-fi films. The eyeball fabrication machine in Blade Runner, John Zabrucki made that. The psychokinetic energy meter in Ghostbusters, that's John again.
Kirk Enterprise.
And pretty much anything in the background of Star Trek. Yep, John. Walking around his modern props warehouse, everything looks vaguely familiar.
This is from RoboCop, is probably the most famous thing that it's been in.
Now playback.
Bring it up 50%.
Can I sit in that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah?
Sure.
Does it do anything? That's not exactly what I was expecting.
You can actually go completely 360 degrees.
We have to do that today. Maybe not today.
Next door, there's even more. Remember these chairs from Men in Black?
Let's get going.
Agent S reporting for duty.
John Zabrucki moved to Los Angeles in the early 70s. One day he happened to be on a film set and saw a prop break. Zabrucki told the producer he could make a better one. The rest is history.
This is one of the oldest machines I have.
Perhaps more than anyone else, his vision of the future has helped to shape our own ideas. But even he's sometimes surprised by which props become iconic.
This has been in like every movie.
It's been in 200 productions.
A YouTube fan lovingly dubbed it the most important device in the universe.
Okay, so what is it?
I think the guys call it the dual axis generator.
But what does it do? What is it for?
It just does this.
What have you found?
All I found is that these red lights keep moving back and forth. Aside from that, this thing seems to have no other function whatsoever.
Zabrucki's survived almost half a century in Hollywood, and a lot has changed in that time. The rise of computer animation and special effects have made many old-fashioned props obsolete.
Does it make you sad?
I think there's a little bit of sadness to it, but I think that everything changes.
Zabrucki is retiring this month. He's auctioning off his props, but his hope is that a museum will take some of his more well-known pieces. He's not planning to keep much for himself.
I'm not such a fan of the future anymore.
After a lifetime of channeling the future, he's finally content to live in the present. For today, Sarah Harmon, NBC News, Los Angeles.
So we are that museum. The Trumbull County Historical Society is ultimately where John found a home for his props. As I said, thank you. I'll take it, thank you very much. So John obviously is from Warren, and he wanted to give back to his hometown. He reached out to several different museums in California. They all kind of gave him the runaround, and same with Kent State. They did the same thing, and if, as I said before, most of you don't know who John is in this room, but John doesn't like the runaround, he likes straight answers. So when we said, yes, absolutely, and we will figure it out, that gave him hope that the collection could help spur a museum in his hometown of Warren as a place for economic development. All right, but the other reason you guys are here, not just to learn about this, is to see what props are on display at the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio, specifically the Star Trek props, obviously, because it's an exhibit about Star Trek. So these are, I think both of these are one, two. Okay, let's go with two, Jason, sure. Both of these are on display at the Decorative Arts Center in Ohio. For their Star Trek and Worlds Beyond exhibit. They appear in several different scenes in The Next Generation, but this website has been super helpful for our volunteers and myself, because it allows us, they've already done some of the hard work for us. I'm just gonna click through some of them, if that's okay. Oh, no, it's not showing again. Thank you. Thanks, Jason. Doing this with John's props, it's actually kind of a very unique way of looking at films and television shows, because you're never looking at the foreground of the actors anymore. You're trying to identify what has been used and how it's been used, in part because many of John's props are not what we think of as hero props, or props that they're almost always in the background. They help set the setting for scenes, to help us envision what that future world or that future starfighter might look like. This one really only appears in the Next Generation Coming of Age episode. But what's really remarkable about it, you see, where's that? Yes, okay, fantastic. So right now, this is in its closed stage. Over here, it's in its open stage. So even when it's on, it can prop open. I think actually right now, the Decorative Arts Center has it opened, so that way you can see it on all of its blinking glory. This is the one that the Decorative Arts Center was the most excited to receive, the one that we have spent the most amount of time documenting. This is the Communicator in Wrath of Khan. It is one of two, we believe. One sold at auction about 2018, 2019, and this is the other one. I was asked at the last talk for the Decorative Arts Center, how do I know? And I just had to tell them that I know because John was there. And John handed it to me and said, this is the one. So that's how I know, that's how we know that it is the right communicator from Wrath of Khan. Sorry for the commercials. I didn't make YouTube do this. It just does it on its own.
Hey, Joe, what are you doing here on the...
As much as I want to keep watching Wrath of Khan, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to tell you that that prop is the probe with red tip, which is always really interesting to read John's titles for his props. That's also in Wrath of Khan as the medical device McCoy uses. These Mercury-style pods, which is John's name, not mine, I didn't give it to him, are also in Wrath of Khan. They're almost in every scene throughout various locations. They just sort of help fill in the gaps. This control room podium is featured in The Next Generation. It's only in 2 scenes, so I don't feel like backing out and coming back to it. But once again, this is an example of John's props just having blinking lights, right? And they're almost always in the background, almost vaguely next to somebody famous, like LeVar Burton back there, right? They're never actually interacted with, almost always. So one of the things that's really interesting about the collection that we have is that John, he wasn't a great record keeper. I think that's the nicest way I can phrase that. He wiped his records every 10 years. But during COVID, he has a son that was in college and sort of looking for something to do in the summers. So he asked his son to go through what records they had and also watch a bunch of movies, and his dad would pay him to do it. And so we have a lot of notes about where things were rented, but not a ton. But because it was in the last 10 years of that, Picard happened, and these say Star Trek Picard on there. Now, what's really cool is that I haven't been able to verify that, but that doesn't mean that they weren't rented for the show. It just might not mean that I saw it, or potentially it was in a scene that got cut, right? But that doesn't mean it wasn't on set at some point. That's true of many of John's props, but not all of them. This was one of the props I was going to bring today, but then I was explaining to Judy, who helped organize this, that all the props that are in Star Trek that we have from John, minus the communicator and the medical device, they're huge. They're the size of that cabinet back there or taller. They're on wheels, but they're metal. Nothing that can fit in a car. So I knew a friend of mine was going to drive me, so I said, well, maybe this can. It didn't, but that did. So we'll talk about that one next. But most of them, besides, as I said, the communicator, don't fit into a car. This one back here, that is also a prop that John created. Actually, so is that. This is one of my all-time favorite props that we received as part of John's collection. It's called Fly Eye, which is a fine, fun name. But we have two of them, and they have radiating different sequences that light up around it as it's on, which I think is amazing. And there's different plugs on different sides, so they each do different things. So it really can change the feel of a scene because each side has different sequences. I said this before, but this is one of my other favorite props that we lent to the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio. It's called Computer Arming Station. It's used in the Next Generation episode, Unnatural Selection. It's really, really unique. Do you see this little compartment right here? Yeah. So if you hit a button right there, the slides over, and then what pops out is like an arming station. There's a little key code there, so it's like detonating a bomb or the president going, and it's a hidden compartment. It's really quite fascinating. But once again, this is relatively heavy. It's not easy to transport or move, but it certainly, once again, sets the scene, right, as something a little bit different, a little bit otherworldly, a little bit in the future. It's back there. This one is another prop that John made. I think that one's called Control Burner. Yeah, Control Burner 6-top. This laser bench appears in numerous episodes throughout the Star Trek franchises. I can pull all those up if you'd like, but don't go there. Please, also, I'm not an expert. If you have a question or if you know something a little bit more about these props, please raise your hand, let me know. I'm learning, I'm getting better. The other prop behind it is also a prop John made called Tri-Fold Light Collector, or Laser Collector. I think that's it. And that's the one that I brought today. So it's mine, Kate Mulgrew, right? And it just, like many of John's props, just does that, right? It just does that. It radiates a light, but it does give a sense of what the future could potentially look like, right? It's chrome, it's metal. There's a little dial that helps the gauge move, but for the most part, it is once again just something near fame or near the actors, but not necessarily always interacted with. There are occasions where if you're on in engineering or the med lab where the actors are interacting with it, but that is not often. Okay, so now we get to the one that John says, well, it just does this, right? So this is the most, as the video said there, a YouTuber dubbed it the most important device in the universe. There's about 4 videos, each of them 20 minutes long, that help catalog all the different scenes that this prop has been in. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records as being the prop used the most in any science fiction film of all time, or science fiction films and television shows. As John said, they call it the dual access generator. I like that name. I prefer the Zabruckitron because I think John does too, but I was going to show you a couple. I'm going to show you a little bit of the clip of it being in so many different movies, if that's okay. Hold on.
If you're a man over 30 who makes at least 150 grand a year,
to be clear, those plastic gray things, not the lasers, they're made out of pool filters from the 80s. He sent us the pool filters. I know why, but it was alarming to open a box and find pool filters from 1984. It's also on wheels, as you see here. And almost all these set dressings are something John has created. You get the point, right? If you want to watch all 4 videos on YouTube, feel free to do it. It's kind of fun. All right, I'm going to do this one. It's been used so much in various Star Trek iterations that they even animated it for the lower decks. It's right over here.
Listen, we could really use your help.
I know what you want, that stupid Starfleet party.
You have to know where it is.
You get it, right? It's an animated background prop, but it was so significant and so prevalent throughout Star Trek that they decided to animate it for the show. If you're ever curious about all the different things it's in, there are more, but this is a good list of them. And this one is, apparently somebody made a miniature version of it. If you're ever interested in buying it, here it is. Hold on. So now I'm going to move on to, this is a terribly grainy image. I'm sorry. It looks much better on my 12-inch monitor than that. But now it's part 3, which is the story of the Museum of Science Fiction and Fantasy Arts. This is the building in downtown Warren where the museum will be held. It is a 4-story, 22,000 square foot building. With the help of the city, we were able to purchase this building about 2 years ago. The city is really behind this project. They understand what it could do to downtown. In addition to owning this building, we've received 13 53-foot trailers of props from John's warehouse. We have 1 more to go. Now, 22,000 square feet sounds like a lot, but when I tell you that there are fans the size of that wall in there, you will know that 22,000 square feet is not that much when you have to have bathrooms and hopefully a gift shop and some sort of welcome center. So while it is a large space, it's what we really loved about it is that it's really close to downtown. It's about a block and a half away from downtown. The downtown has revitalized itself. In the late 70s, it was nearly, there's nearly 70,000 people in Warren, and now there are just over 35,000. So it suffered a great population decline. But over the last couple of years, a coffee shop came, a brewery came, several restaurants, an energy incubator, and that has all helped to re-stabilize and revitalize our downtown. So we want to be a part of that change, right? To continue that growth. Sorry, playing with the computer again. So we did build a website for the site. It's in its infancy, but it is still the start of our very first website we created for the Museums of Science Fiction and Fantasy Arts. This is a computer rendering of what we think the initial stages will be to design it. It's not fully done. It's something that an exhibit team did a number of years ago when we first got the collection. The building is in really good shape. The foundation has some issues, but the building was built in 1898. So it's really beautiful. And a gentleman by the name of Dale Bell owned it for a number of years. He tried to make it a cafe and an artist studio. It never really worked, but he did take care of the building for about 12 years. And then eventually it became his little man cave where he had an indoor golf simulator and a wood shop. So he did take care of it for a number of years before we purchased it. What I really want to highlight is that we are, there's some stuff about the collection, there's some interesting things about being an ambassador program. Right now, we're in the very initial stages of starting this project. Like I said, we received the collection a little over 2 years ago. And right now, we are starting the silent phase of fundraising. We've heard from everybody that does fundraising professionally, including some members of our staff that we've hired on, that we have to show local support first. So we really are in the process of what you see there is the Genesis Club, which is the first 200 to give $5,000 or more, gets us to our $1 million, which while we have an architectural firm and an exhibit firm under contract, that gets them the money needed to build renderings so we can go to other wealthier, more national searches and say, this is how much a classroom costs. This is what it'll look like. This is what the cafeteria looks like. This is how much it'll cost. But we needed to show local buy-in. So we started this a little over 3 months ago, and we're about a little over a third of the way there. So really good progress in that amount of time. And the other thing that you see here is the traveling exhibit. So what I didn't say when we started is the reason that the Wrath of Khan communicator did not come with the show originally is because we had an exhibit at the Medici Museum of Art, which is in Holland, Ohio, which is where Linda DeSena is from, where we, for the first time, were able to show off the collection to local people. That exhibit had just over 3,000 people attended in less than 6 months, which really showed the community how invested people are in this project, because 3,000 people for that museum is quite a lot. But we're starting to do a traveling exhibit with the bulk of that show, with the idea of it traveling around, raising funds for us as we start to build the museum. So we sent it to a list of about 90 different organizations, museums, libraries, et cetera, with the hopes, with a bunch of information about how they can contact us, how much it costs, what the square footage is. We'll roughly need about 2,000 to 4,000 square feet to get the props that we are sending out there. So the hope is in the next couple months, we start organizing what the traveling exhibit or where it's going to go, at which point we will put it on our website because then maybe it's coming near you. Once again, this is an example that AI generated from an exhibit design firm about what the interior could potentially look like of the Museum of Science Fiction and Fantasy Arts. And then I'm going to show you, if it's okay, this is a really kind of quick video, but this is, we had a local photographer, videographer walk through the Medici and film it so that people, when we send this to various institutions, they have a sense of what their exhibit could look like. So I'm going to play the video. And I don't have to back out for this one because I actually learned how to do this, so hooray. And I think in the back you asked that it's in other movies. Yeah, you'll see as Blade Runner comes up and so on and so forth. The big robot was in Toys with Robin Williams and Galaxy Quest. No sound. Maybe we should have done sound. Maybe. I watched Total Recall while we were getting ready for this exhibit, and there's John's props in almost every scene. Same with Running Man. Yeah, that's an excellent question. Yes, almost always, but that's not unilaterally true. But yes, like the radar, that's been the same since 1977, 76. Those were in the Batcave with Val Kilmer. Not the great Batman movies, I'm sorry, but they were there. And then I wouldn't be doing this any justice if I didn't say this because he's in the room now, so I'm going to call him out. But the gentleman in the plaid shirt on the third row, all the things that blink, like the screens that actually blink and do what they're supposed to do, is because Tim programmed them that way. So. He did make the noisy cricket, John did in Men in Black, but we don't have it. Unfortunately, when you have a crew of about 100 people, some people aren't always honest. So that, along with the PKE meter that John created, were no longer a part of John's collection because somebody had stolen it from the warehouse. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm fairly certain that I'm done, which would be good because I'm getting parched. And I did it on time, Zach, like really on time. So thank you very much, but I'll take some questions.
If anyone does have any questions, if you don't mind raising your hand, I'll come around with the microphone. Really quick, what is if you have one, what is your favorite prop or piece of art that John made?
So I kind of hinted at this before, but we have the vid phone from Blade Runner, the one that Deckard uses to call Rachel. So Harrison Ford touches this device. I know we're here for Star Trek, but that's a big deal. So that one's probably my favorite. It's really cool. And we didn't even know we had it. John sent it in basically just a non-distinct box. And then as we're going through opening things up, like a year later, we're like, hey, we never opened this one up. And then there it was. So it was a remarkable discovery. The tuning fork that you saw from Men in Black is pretty cool. That's the one that Tommy Lee Jones makes a joke about, like starting a intergalactic war because there was some miscommunication. So I think that one's pretty fun too. And it's Tommy Lee Jones. I don't know, whatever.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much. This is fascinating. Really quick, the exhibit is on display at the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio through the end of August. So if you haven't been over there, please head that way. You have a little bit over a month. If anyone wants to check out the props, there's also some display there's a display in the back. But you're more than welcome to hang out and ask questions as long as Ryan's free to stick around.
We got like 15 minutes before I really want a beer. So that's But I just want to say thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio for including me in this exhibit. I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd be a curator, but apparently I've been a curator twice now, so thank you very much.